The first time Michael made me feel like a dirty secret, the whole bar was shouting at a World Cup game, and I was the only person at our table who went silent. A woman I had never seen before walked up behind him while he was wearing the jersey I had bought him 2 days earlier. She looked at the jersey, then at his hand on my knee, then at me. Her smile was polite enough to fool a stranger, but not a woman who already felt something was wrong. She cleared her throat and said, "Wow, Michael, you really do bring everybody here." He pulled his hand away from my leg so fast the chair scraped the floor. Then he stared at his beer like the glass had given him instructions. "My name is Sylvia Parker, and until that night, I thought I was finally in a normal relationship with a man who knew how to love me quietly and consistently. I was 31, living in Cincinnati, working as an assistant manager for a small event company that handled weddings, charity dinners, school fundraisers, and every kind of watch party people suddenly wanted because World Cup fever had taken over the city. I had met Michael at the Corner Flag, a neighborhood soccer bar downtown that became impossible to enter whenever the United States played. He was not loud. Everybody else was chanting, waving scarves, yelling at the screens, and he was sitting near the end of the bar with a calm smile, like he was watching the room more than the game. He offered me his seat because my heel had broken outside on the sidewalk. That was how small it started. A broken heel, a bar stool, a man who looked gentle. That was the first version of the story. It was not the real one. In the beginning, I did not fall for him all at once. I thought he was handsome, of course. He had those tired, kind eyes that made you think he had been through enough to understand pain, but not enough to become hard. For almost 3 months, Michael acted like a man who had been waiting for me. He sent me pictures of coffee cups before work. He remembered that I hated cilantro. He drove across town one rainy Thursday just to bring me cough drops and soup when I had a sore throat. The first time he came to my apartment, he noticed the loose cabinet door in my kitchen and fixed it without making a performance out of it. He just kept showing up. That is how some lies work. They do not kick the door open. They learn where you keep the spare key. The only thing that bothered me was how little of his life I was allowed to touch. He had met my mother, my sister, 2 coworkers, and even my elderly neighbor because she caught him carrying groceries up my stairs and made him introduce himself. But I had never met anyone from his side. Not one friend, not one cousin, not the mother he mentioned constantly. His mother, according to him, was a nurse who worked double shifts and slept whenever she could. Every time I asked when I could meet her, he kissed my forehead and said soon. Soon became a locked room I kept standing outside. The week of the first big watch party, I bought him a navy blue jersey because he had joked that his old one was cursed. He looked almost embarrassed when I gave it to him in my kitchen. He pulled me into his arms and held me there longer than usual, his chin resting against my hair. For a minute, I thought he was emotional because no one had done something thoughtful for him in a long time. He said, "You make me feel like I can breathe." I remember that sentence because I believed him. The next Friday, the Corner Flag was packed so tightly that every table seemed to belong to 3 different groups at once. Michael and I got a small table near the side wall because Victor, the owner, saved it for me. Michael wore the jersey I had bought him. He held my hand under the table and rubbed his thumb over my knuckles while he talked about how one day he wanted to take me to a real World Cup game, not just a crowded bar with sticky floors. I laughed and asked if that meant he was planning future trips with me. He looked at me in a way that made my chest go soft and said, "I'm planning more than trips." That was the last kind thing he said before the room changed. The woman appeared during the national anthem. I noticed her first because she was not singing, not talking, not looking at any of the screens. She was looking straight at Michael. She had dark blonde hair pulled back in a sharp ponytail, a white blouse tucked into jeans, and a little girl's glittery soccer backpack hanging from one shoulder. That detail confused me. She was not carrying it like a mother. She was carrying it like someone who had been handed it in a hurry. When she stopped at our table, Michael's face emptied. Not changed, emptied. She looked at him and said, "I didn't know you were bringing dates to family places now." The people around us were too loud to catch every word, but I caught enough. Michael did not answer. His hand left mine and dropped under the table. I waited for him to laugh, explain, introduce us, anything. Instead, he looked toward the hallway near the restrooms, as if he was calculating how far the exit was. The woman turned to me. "You must be Sylvia," she said. My stomach tightened. "You know my name?" Michael finally spoke, but only to her. He said, "Jennifer, don't." That was not a greeting. That was damage control. Jennifer smiled at me like I had just confirmed something for her. "He talks more than he thinks he does." I looked between them, waiting for the missing piece to appear. Michael leaned forward and said Jennifer was a neighbor. Just a neighbor. Someone from the building where his mother lived. He spoke quickly, too quickly, and not once did he look me in the eye. Jennifer let out a small laugh. "A neighbor," she said. "That's one way to put it." A cheer exploded across the bar because the game had started. Everyone turned toward the screens except the three of us. I could feel heat climbing up my neck, not because I understood, but because Michael looked guilty before anyone accused him of anything. I said, "I'm his girlfriend." Jennifer's eyes moved back to him. "Are you?" One word, 2 syllables, a room full of noise around it. Michael said nothing. That silence did more damage than a confession. I pushed my chair back, but Michael grabbed my wrist under the edge of the table. Not hard enough to hurt, just firm enough to warn. He told Jennifer this was not the place. Jennifer looked down at his hand on me and said, "You always say that when a place has witnesses." Then she adjusted the glittery backpack on her shoulder and walked away. I asked Michael who she was. He said she was dramatic. I asked why she knew my name. He said he must have mentioned me once. I asked what she meant by family places. He said she was always trying to make ordinary things sound ugly. Every answer came out fast, polished, and useless. The lie had already left the room before I knew what it was carrying. 5 minutes later, he said he had a headache and wanted to leave. We had just ordered food. The match was barely 10 minutes in. He kept checking the hallway, then the front door, then his phone. When I told him he was scaring me, his mouth tightened. "Can you not do this here?" he said. I almost laughed because I was not doing anything. I was sitting in a bar wearing the scarf he had wrapped around my neck, trying to understand why a stranger knew my name and my boyfriend looked like he had been caught stealing oxygen. In the car, I asked if he had ever dated Jennifer. "No," he said. I asked if she was jealous. No. I asked if there was something about his family he had not told me. He stared through the windshield and said, "You're turning one awkward moment into a trial." That sentence bothered me because it sounded rehearsed. Not defensive, prepared. When he dropped me off, he did not come inside. He kissed my cheek, not my mouth, and said he needed sleep. I watched his taillights disappear into the rain. Then I stood in the hallway outside my apartment with my keys still in my hand. For the first time since I had met him, I did not feel lonely after he left. I felt handled. The next morning, I texted him, asking if we could talk. He replied 3 hours later. "Sorry, crazy workday. We'll talk later." Later did not happen. Over the next week, Michael became a person I had to chase. He canceled dinner because a delivery truck got stuck in Louisville. He missed my mother's birthday lunch because his mother had a migraine. He said he could not stay over because he had an early call. Every excuse was possible by itself. Together, they made a wall. The worst part was that he still sent sweet messages between disappearances. A heart. A thinking of you. A picture of the skyline from his car. Just enough tenderness to make me feel guilty for doubting him. Not enough presence to make me feel safe. That was not love anymore. That was rationing. Jennifer appeared again 3 days before the charity watch event. Not in person. On Instagram. Victor had posted a photo of the bar decorated with flags, scarves, and a banner my team had designed. Michael was standing in the background beside me, half turned away from the camera. I did not even notice him until Jennifer commented under the post, "Bold place to bring a secret." The comment vanished less than 10 minutes later. I screenshotted it before it disappeared. My hands were shaking when I sent it to Michael. I asked him what secret she meant. He called me immediately, which should have calmed me, but his voice was too controlled. "She's unstable," he said. "Please don't engage with her." Why would she write that? Because she wants attention. From you or from me? He went quiet. That silence had a pattern now. I told him I needed the truth. He sighed like I had disappointed him, and said Jennifer had always had issues with boundaries because she used to be close to his family. Used to be. That was the phrase he chose. He said she had helped his mother years ago after a surgery and had become too involved, too familiar, too entitled to his life. It sounded believable if I ignored every part of his face from the bar. I asked why he had never mentioned her before. He said, "Because I knew you'd react like this." The accusation landed neatly. Suddenly his secrecy was my fault. His silence was my fault. A woman calling me a secret was my fault because I had the nerve to ask what the word meant. He was not explaining the lie. He was training me not to touch it. I did something then that I had never done in a relationship. I stopped arguing and started saving things. The screenshot, his texts, the date of the bar incident, the nights he canceled. I even asked Victor to save the camera footage from the night Jennifer came to our table, pretending I needed it, because a drunk customer had bumped into one of our vendor crates near that area. Victor did not ask questions. I was not trying to destroy Michael. That is important. I told myself I would not call his job, would not stalk his building, would not drag some woman I did not know into something that might still have an innocent explanation. I had been cheated on before, and I knew what humiliation could turn a person into if she let pain drive. So I made one rule for myself. I would not hurt anyone innocent just to get an answer, but I would not keep handing Michael my trust while he treated the truth like private property. The charity event happened on a Saturday afternoon. The place was packed with families because Victor had promised part of the proceeds to a youth soccer league. Kids ran between tables with painted cheeks. Parents wore jerseys from every country you could imagine. A local news crew showed up for a short segment because World Cup stories were easy summer content. Michael was supposed to come at 2. At 1:45, he texted that he was running late. At 2:30, he said a work call had trapped him. At 3:15, I saw him walk in through the side door with Jennifer behind him. For 1 second, I thought I had misunderstood everything. Then I saw his face when he noticed me. He was not surprised to be there. He was surprised I was looking at the side door. Jennifer did not have the glittery backpack this time. She had a phone in one hand and a paper gift bag in the other. She said something to Michael, low and sharp, and he shook his head. I could not hear them because the crowd erupted over a near goal, but I saw his mouth form my name in someone else's argument. I walked toward them before I had time to think better of it. Michael stepped forward, blocking Jennifer slightly. He said, "Sylvia, not now. Not hello. Not I can explain. Not I'm sorry. Not now." There are phrases that tell you exactly where you stand. That one told me I was an inconvenience standing in the path of a bigger problem. Jennifer looked over his shoulder and smiled. "You're always exactly where he says you won't be." I asked what that meant. Michael turned on her so fast a man nearby looked over. He told her to leave. Jennifer held up the gift bag and said she had only come to drop off something that had been left in the car. Then she looked at me again. "You bought him that jersey, didn't you?" I did not answer. She nodded toward Michael. That's sweet. He does like women who buy things quietly. Michael's expression changed. Not guilt this time. Anger. He grabbed her elbow and moved her toward the hallway. She jerked away and said loud enough for two parents near the raffle table to hear, "Don't put your hands on me because you forgot which life you parked outside." The parents stared. A volunteer stopped sorting tickets. Michael looked at me, and for a second, I thought he would finally tell me the truth because the lie had made itself public. Instead, he said, "Sylvia, you're making this worse." I felt that sentence hit me in front of strangers. I was not the one who brought Jennifer. I was not the one who hid something. I was not the one turning pale under a row of World Cup flags, while a woman with his secret stood 6 feet away. But he had found the fastest way to make me the problem. Jennifer laughed under her breath, almost like she admired how smoothly he did it. Then she placed the gift bag on the check-in table and walked out through the side door. Michael followed her, not me. He followed her. I stayed there with children chanting at a screen, parents pretending not to watch me, and my name still burning in the air. That afternoon, Michael came to my apartment with grocery store flowers and a face so tired I almost folded before he spoke. He said Jennifer had embarrassed him on purpose. He said she had always been jealous of people who found happiness. He said the gift bag belonged to his mother. He said he followed Jennifer outside only because he wanted to keep her from causing a bigger scene. Then he said the line that changed the temperature in the room. "You have to decide whether you trust me or whether you want to be part of her drama." It was not an apology. It was a door with a threat behind it. I asked to meet his mother that week. No more soon. No more excuses. If Jennifer was connected to his family, if she was using his mother as a reason to interfere, then meeting his mother would clear everything up. Michael stared at me as if I had asked for his bank password. "She's not ready for that," he said. "She doesn't even know I exist, does she?" He rubbed his jaw and looked away. There it was again, the missing answer. I told him I could not keep doing this. He put the flowers on my counter and said, "You're letting one bitter woman poison something good." I wanted to believe him. I hated that I wanted to believe him. Love does not always leave when respect tells it to pack. Sometimes it sits on the floor and begs for one more explanation. So I gave him one more chance. That was the mistake he needed from me. For the next 10 days, he behaved almost perfectly. He called when he said he would. He took me to dinner. He held my hand again. He brought my mother a small USA scarf because she had started watching games after hearing me talk about them. He even came over one night and helped me fold programs for another watch event, sitting cross-legged on my living room floor with a pen behind his ear. That night was the scene I kept replaying later, the one that made the truth hurt more than the lie. We ordered pizza. A storm rolled through. My power flickered twice, and each time he joked that if the lights went out, he would protect me from my own hallway, because I always said it looked creepy. I laughed so hard I forgot to be suspicious for almost an hour. Then his phone buzzed. He turned it face down so quickly that the pen fell from his ear. I saw only one thing before the screen went dark. A contact name with a soccer ball emoji and the words, "Where are you? Kids are asking." Kids. I asked him who it was. He said a coworker from the youth league. I asked why a coworker's kids were asking where he was at almost 10 at night. He said I had read it wrong. I told him I had not. His whole face hardened. "You're watching my phone now?" I was standing in my own living room, beside piles of programs he had helped me fold, and somehow I became the suspicious one again. He left 10 minutes later, not angry enough to make a scene, calm enough to scare me. The next day, I called the medical supply company where he said he worked, pretending I needed a sponsorship contact for a fundraiser. The receptionist checked twice. No Michael Lawson worked there. I did not call him right away. I went to the restroom at work, locked myself in the last stall, and opened every message he had ever sent me. His job stories, his mother's stories, his delays, his sudden work emergencies. All those little details that had made him sound dependable began to rearrange themselves into something else. Not mystery, system. When I confronted him that evening outside the restaurant where we were supposed to have dinner, he did not even ask how I found out. That was what frightened me. He only closed his eyes, breathed in, and said, "You had no right to call my workplace." "My workplace?" I said. "They don't know you." He looked around the parking lot, always checking the room, always measuring witnesses. Then he said very softly, "I can't do this anymore." I knew it was coming, but knowing did not protect me from it. He said I had become suspicious, demanding, impossible to reassure. He said he cared about me, but I had crossed lines. He said Jennifer had gotten exactly what she wanted. He said maybe we needed space. I asked, "Are you breaking up with me because I found out you lied?" He said, "I'm ending this because you don't know when to stop." There it was, the cruel sentence. Clean. Simple. Easy to remember. You don't know when to stop. Then he drove away. The next morning, my message to him did not deliver. Blocked. For almost 3 months, I lived with a breakup that had no body. No real explanation, no final truth, just pieces. Jennifer, the secret comment, the kid's text, the fake job. The way he looked more afraid of witnesses than consequences. Near the end of the tournament, Victor asked me to stop by the corner flag after work to look at final invoices. I almost said no. I had avoided the place unless work forced me there. But the event season was ending, and I needed to prove to myself that a man who lied did not get to own every room where I had once been happy. So I went. The bar was quieter that night. No huge game, just highlights on the screens and a few regulars drinking under flags that were starting to curl at the edges. I sat at the end of the bar with my laptop open, reviewing receipts, when I heard a woman laugh behind me. I knew that laugh before I turned. Jennifer was at a table near the window with another woman. She saw me almost immediately. For a moment, she did nothing. Then she picked up her drink, walked over, and sat on the stool beside me without asking. "You look better than I expected," she said. I closed my laptop slowly. "What do you want?" She looked at the screen, then at the stack of invoices beside me. "Still cleaning up after people?" I started to stand, but she said Michael's name, and my body betrayed me by stopping. Jennifer's face changed then. The sarcasm thinned out, and for the first time she looked less entertained than tired. "You really didn't know, did you?" The bar noise seemed to pull back. I said, "Know what?" She reached into her purse and took out her phone. Her thumb hovered over the screen, but she did not turn it toward me yet. "I told him to end it before my sister found out," she said. "He swore you were just some woman from the bar who wouldn't take a hint." My mouth went dry. "Sister." Jennifer watched the word land. Then she turned the phone around. On the screen was a family photo taken at the corner flag months earlier, under the same ceiling flags I had helped hang. Michael stood in the center with his arm around a woman I had never seen before. 2 children stood in front of them wearing matching soccer jerseys. Jennifer tapped the woman's face with one red nail. "That's my sister," she said. "His wife." For a few seconds, I just stared at the photo. Michael looked different in it, not physically. He had the same face, the same tired eyes, the same careful smile. But the way he stood behind that woman and those children made my stomach twist, because it was too practiced to be new. His hand rested on his wife's shoulder, like it belonged there. The little boy leaned back against his leg, like he trusted him without thinking. The little girl held a tiny American flag in one hand and a soccer ball in the other. It was not a rumor. It was not Jennifer being dramatic. It was not some bitter neighbor trying to poison my relationship. It was a whole life. And I had been the woman standing outside it, smiling in pictures I did not know were evidence. I asked Jennifer how long they had been married. She said almost 10 years. I asked if they lived together. She said yes. I asked if the children were his. She looked at me like the answer should have been obvious and said, "Both of them." The bar around me went blurry. I wanted to hate Jennifer in that moment. Part of me still did. She had watched me sit beside him in that bar. She had smiled in my face. She had chosen sarcasm over the truth, when one honest sentence could have saved me months of humiliation. But she was not the wound. She was just the person who finally lifted the bandage. I asked why she had not told me that first night. Jennifer looked down at her drink. Because my sister was already breaking. Because he begged me not to blow up his house in public. Because I thought you were just another stupid thing he was doing. And I thought if I scared him enough, he would end it. She gave a small, bitter laugh. Turns out he ended it by making you look crazy. That sentence hit too close to the truth. I asked if her sister knew about me. Jennifer did not answer right away. She turned the phone back toward herself, locked the screen, and slid it into her purse like she regretted showing it. "She knows something," she said. "She does not know everything." I should have walked away then. That would have been clean. That would have been dignified. But pain does not always choose the clean door. Sometimes it stands still, because one more truth feels like the only thing keeping it alive. "What does that mean?" I asked. Jennifer leaned closer and lowered her voice. "It means Michael told her a woman from the event company was obsessed with him. He said you kept texting him, showing up where he worked, making scenes at the bar, and trying to embarrass him during World Cup events because he rejected you." For a moment, I could not breathe. He had not just lied to me. He had turned me into the lie. I looked at the screens above the bar. Some old match highlight was playing, and the crowd on television was celebrating like the world had not just cracked open under my feet. Jennifer kept talking. She said her sister's name was Claire. She said Claire had found a charge from the corner flag and asked him about it. Michael told her it was connected to work, then later told her I had started causing trouble after he refused my advances. When Jennifer saw us together that first night, she confronted him outside and threatened to tell Claire. That was why he changed afterward. That was why he cooled off. That was why he broke up with me when I began asking questions. Not because he felt guilty, because I had become dangerous to the story he had already built. Jennifer said, "He knew exactly what to say to make her afraid of you." I asked, "Afraid of me?" She nodded. "He told her you were unstable." That word changed something in me. Cheater would have hurt. Liar would have hurt. Coward would have hurt. But unstable was strategic. Unstable meant if I spoke, he could dismiss me. If I cried, he could use it. If I showed proof, he could call it obsession. If I contacted his wife, I would become exactly what he had described. He had not blocked me to disappear. He had blocked me after preparing the ground. That was when I understood the real trap. The affair was not the whole damage. The damage was that he had already assigned me a role in his marriage, and it was the role of the crazy woman nobody should believe. I opened my laptop again with hands that did not feel like mine. Jennifer watched me. "What are you doing?" she asked. I said, "Making sure I do not become what he called me." I pulled up the folder where I had saved everything. The screenshot of her comment, Michael's messages, the dinner plans, the photos from events, the invoices that proved he had attended as my guest, the text where he told me he wanted to plan more than trips. The screenshot of the kid's message I had seen on his phone was not there, of course. I had no proof of that. But I had enough to prove I had not imagined the relationship. Jennifer's expression shifted as she looked at the screen. "You saved all that?" "I started after you called me a secret." For the first time since I met her, She did not smile. She said, "Good." Then she gave me something I did not expect. Claire's email address. I stared at it on a napkin Jennifer pulled from beside her drink. She wrote slowly, carefully, like she understood she was handing me either a key or a match. "Do not call her," Jennifer said. "Do not show up at her house. Do not message her from some emotional place tonight. If you want her to listen, send facts, dates, screenshots, nothing dramatic, nothing insulting. He has already made drama your cage." That advice hurt because it was correct. I folded the napkin and put it in my purse. Then I asked Jennifer why she was helping me now. She looked toward the window. Outside, a couple wearing jerseys walked by with their arms around each other, laughing at something private and easy. Jennifer said, "Because my sister has been apologizing for his moods for 10 years, and because when I saw your face that day at the event, I realized he was doing to you what he does to her, making you explain pain he caused." That was the first time Jennifer sounded human to me. I went home and did not sleep. I wrote the email 3 times and deleted it twice. The first version was angry. The second version was too apologetic, as if I had been the one who needed forgiveness for being deceived. The third version was the only one I sent. I told Claire my name. I told her I had been in a relationship with Michael for nearly 3 months. I told her I had not known he was married. I attached screenshots and dates. I told her I was not asking her to respond. I was not asking her to believe anything beyond what the evidence showed. I told her I was sorry she had to receive it from me. Then I wrote the hardest line. I was told you may have been warned that I was unstable. That is why I am sending documentation instead of emotion. I sat there staring at that sentence for almost 5 minutes. Then I pressed send. The moment the email left, I expected relief. Instead, I felt sick. Not guilty exactly, but aware that I had just pushed a truth into a house with children sleeping inside it. Michael had made the mess, but the truth was still going to break glass. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from a blocked number. No voicemail. At 7:42, a message came from an unknown number. "You had no right." I knew it was Michael before he sent the second one. "You think this makes you look sane?" There it was. The same cage, closing from the other side. I took screenshots. I did not respond. He called again, then again. Then he sent a longer message saying I was destroying a family because I could not handle rejection. He said I had humiliated myself. He said Claire already knew I was obsessed. He said no one would believe me over a husband and father. Then he made his first real mistake. He wrote, "You should have stopped when I told you to stop. I saved that one twice." At work, I could barely focus. My boss noticed, but I told her I was fine. I was not fine. I kept checking my email every few minutes, expecting Claire to answer or Michael to escalate. Around noon, Jennifer texted me from a number I did not know. "Did he contact you?" I replied with screenshots. She answered, "Save everything. Claire got your email. She is reading." Those 4 words made my hands go cold. She is reading. Not ignoring. Not dismissing. Reading. At 3:16 in the afternoon, Claire replied. Her message was short. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Did he ever tell you he was separated?" I stared at the screen. "No," I wrote. "He told me he was single." A minute later, she asked if he had ever mentioned his children. No. Then she asked if he had ever taken me to his apartment. No. The questions came one by one, each more painful because I could feel her building the same structure I had been forced to build. Not emotion first, facts first. She asked when we met, where, what he told me about his job, what name he used, what places we went, whether he paid cash or card, whether he ever wore his wedding ring around me. Wedding ring. I had never seen one. When I told her that, she sent back one sentence. He told me he lost it at work in March. We had met in April. The cruelty of that timing made me close my laptop and press both palms against my eyes. He had not accidentally slipped into another life. He had prepared his hand for it. That night, Claire called me. I almost did not answer. I had imagined her voice so many ways: angry, broken, cold, accusing. But when I picked up, she sounded frighteningly calm. She said, "I am not calling to fight with you." I said, "I know. I do not know what you know. I know what he told me, that is all." She was quiet for a moment, then said, "He told me you tried to kiss him after an event, and he rejected you. He told me you started showing up at the bar because you knew he liked soccer. He told me Jennifer was exaggerating because she always hated him." I sat on the edge of my bed, listening to the version of myself he had invented. Claire continued, "He told me if you ever reached out, I should not answer because that would encourage you. That was not fear. That was premeditation." I told Claire everything from the beginning, not dramatically, not with insults, just dates, places, what he said, what he promised, how he avoided letting me meet his family, how he looked when Jennifer approached the table. I told her about the fake workplace call. I told her about the kid's message I had seen on his phone, even though I had no screenshot. Claire did not cry until I mentioned the jersey, the navy blue one I bought him. There was a long silence. Then I heard her inhale sharply. "He told our son I bought it for him," she said. That broke me in a way I did not expect. It was such a small theft compared to the marriage, the lies, the months of deception. But somehow it made everything uglier. He had taken a gift from me and carried it home as a gift from his wife. Or maybe worse, as a lie to his child. Claire said, "He wore it to our son's school watch party." I covered my mouth. That was when the relationship stopped feeling like heartbreak and started feeling like contamination. He had taken pieces of me into rooms where I did not belong, then erased my name from them. Claire whispered, "I am so tired." Those 4 words carried 10 years. I did not know what to say, so I told her the truth. "I am sorry," she said. "You did not marry me." No sentence had ever made me feel more guilty and less guilty at the same time. Over the next few days, Michael tried every door. He called from different numbers. He emailed my work address. He sent a message through an old event vendor account, accusing me of harassment and threatening to file a police report if I contacted his family again. He copied Claire on that email, probably thinking it would make him look controlled. It did the opposite, because I did not answer him. Claire did. She replied with 3 attachments: my screenshots, Jennifer's statement, and a copy of Michael's message telling me I should have stopped. She wrote one line: "You do not get to call her unstable for proving what you did." Jennifer sent me that screenshot later. I stared at Claire's sentence until my eyes blurred. Not because it healed me. It did not. But because for the first time in months, someone inside his world had said my name without turning me into a threat. Michael was not done. Men like him rarely stop when truth appears. They stop when truth costs them something. The cost came 2 weeks later at the final World Cup fundraiser. I did not plan it as revenge. I need to be clear about that. The event had been scheduled months earlier. It was a family watch party at the Corner Flag, and the Youth Soccer League was receiving the donation. My company was handling check-in, sponsors, raffle baskets, and the presentation after the game. Michael knew about the event because he had pretended to support it when we were together. What he did not know was that Claire was one of the league parents. What he also did not know was that she had been quietly gathering her own proof. Credit card charges, deleted messages recovered from their shared tablet, a hotel receipt from a weekend he told her he was helping his mother, a photo someone had taken at my charity event with Michael and Jennifer arguing near the side door, the fake workplace claim, his actual employment information. He had not worked for the company he named me because he had been doing contract sales under a different firm for years, often traveling just enough to make absence look normal. Claire did not tell me all of it at first. She only asked if I would still be working the final fundraiser. I said yes. She said, "Then please do your job exactly like you normally would." That was all. On the day of the event, I arrived early. The bar smelled like coffee, fried food, and floor cleaner. Volunteers taped flags to the walls. Kids kicked a soft foam ball near the back until Victor yelled at them to take it outside. I moved through my checklist like my body knew what to do, even if my mind kept catching on the same thought. Michael might come. I told myself he would not. He was too exposed, too cornered, too smart to walk into a room where Jennifer, Claire, Victor, and I could all exist at once. I underestimated his arrogance. He arrived 20 minutes before kickoff. He came in with Claire and the children. For one wild second, I thought she had forgiven him. Then I saw her face, calm, pale, controlled. Michael saw me at the registration table and froze, but only for half a breath. Then he smiled like a man entering a room where he still believed performance could save him. He put his hand on the little boy's shoulder and guided the family forward. Claire did not look at me. That was intentional. Michael leaned toward me at the table and said, low enough for only me to hear, "Do not start anything." I looked at the guest list, found Claire's name, and handed her the wristbands. "I am here to work," I said. His jaw tightened. He was not warning me. He was checking whether the leash still existed. The game started. The bar filled. People cheered, groaned, ordered drinks, chased children, took photos under the flags. I stayed busy because stillness felt dangerous. At halftime, Victor called everyone's attention for the donation presentation. The Youth League director stood near the front with a microphone, thanking sponsors. Claire was supposed to present a short parent statement because she had helped organize the fundraiser through the league. I did not know that until Victor handed her the microphone. Michael's expression changed. Claire stood in front of the room with her son on one side and her daughter holding her hand on the other. She thanked the bar, the sponsors, the parents, the volunteers, and the event staff. Her voice shook only once when she mentioned how soccer had given her children a place to feel confident. Then she said, "I also want to say something about the people who organize these events behind the scenes." Michael turned slightly toward the exit. Claire continued, "A few months ago, my husband told me one of those people was unstable. He told me she was obsessed with him. He told me she was trying to damage our family because he rejected her." Every conversation in the room began to die. My hands went numb around the clipboard I was holding. Claire looked directly at me then. Not long, just enough. "He lied." Michael stepped forward and said, "Claire." She did not look at him. "He lied to me. He lied to her. He lied to our children. And he used my trust as cover while using another woman's trust as entertainment." The room was silent now. This was not screaming. This was worse for him. It was a calm woman holding a microphone in a room full of witnesses, refusing to protect the lie that had been eating her alive. Michael reached for the microphone. Victor moved between them. That tiny movement changed the room. It told everyone where the danger was. Claire reached into a folder and pulled out printed papers. She did not wave them around. She did not perform. She simply held them against her chest and said, "I am not sharing details because my children are here. But I want this room to know that if you were told a woman named Sylvia was unstable, obsessed, or dangerous, that was a lie created by a man who needed both of us quiet." I could feel people looking at me. For months, Michael had made me afraid of witnesses. Now witnesses were the only reason he could not rewrite the moment. Claire turned to him then. "You told her she did not know when to stop," she said. Michael's face drained. Claire's voice stayed steady. "That was your mistake. You kept choosing women who knew how to keep records." A sound moved through the room. Not a cheer exactly. Not yet. More like a collective breath finally deciding what it had seen. Michael looked at me with pure hatred. Not regret. Not shame. Hatred. Because the woman he had called unstable had not screamed. The wife he had trained to endure had not collapsed. Jennifer, standing near the hallway with her arms crossed, had not protected him this time. His whole system had failed in public. He said Claire was humiliating the children. That was his next move. It was fast and cruel and predictable. He tried to turn her truth into bad motherhood. But his son pulled away from his hand. That small movement did what no speech could have done. Michael noticed. Everyone noticed. The little boy moved closer to Claire, not dramatically, not with some perfect movie line. He just stepped away from his father and leaned against his mother's side. Michael's mouth opened, then closed. That was the first time I saw him truly lose control. Not because adults knew, because one child had felt enough to choose distance. Claire handed the microphone back to Victor. She did not say anything else. She did not need to. Jennifer walked over, took the children toward a side booth, and Claire followed them. Michael stood there for a second, stranded in the middle of the room under flags and soccer scarves, surrounded by people who had just watched his mask come off. Then Victor said calmly, "You need to leave." Michael laughed like he could not believe it. "I need to leave?" Victor did not move. "Yes." Michael looked around, searching for allies. He found none. A few men who had once greeted him with claps on the shoulder now looked down at their drinks. A woman from the league pulled her daughter closer. One of the sponsors turned away completely. That was his punishment before any legal paper touched him. He had become visible. Michael walked out alone. No wife beside him, no children following, no secret girlfriend waiting in the parking lot, no false story strong enough to carry him through the door. Just a man in a navy blue jersey I had bought, finally wearing the truth in public. After that day, the practical consequences came slowly, but they came. Claire filed for separation. Jennifer told me Michael tried to move money from one account before Claire's attorney froze the process. He had apparently been hiding more than women. There were credit cards, unpaid taxes, and a small loan Claire had never agreed to, but had somehow been tied to household expenses. I did not ask for every detail, because it was not my marriage, and I had already been dragged far enough through it. But Jennifer told me one thing that stayed with me. Michael's own mother refused to let him stay with her, after she found out he had been using her illness as an excuse for his lies. The mother I had never met. The mother he had turned into a wall. Even that wall closed on him. A month later, Claire asked to meet me for coffee. I said yes, because I felt I owed her that, though I was terrified. We met at a small cafe far from the corner flag. No screens, no flags, no chants. Just two women sitting across from each other with the same man's damage between us. She looked exhausted, but not broken. She thanked me for sending the email the way I did. I told her I had almost sent something angrier. She smiled sadly and said, "I probably would have believed him if you had." That sentence made me realize how thin the line had been. If I had screamed, he would have used it. If I had insulted her, he would have used it. If I had shown up at her house, he would have used it. The truth needed proof, because Michael had already poisoned emotion. Claire reached into her purse and placed something on the table. The navy blue jersey. I stared at it. She said, "My son does not want it. I do not want it in my house." I thought about throwing it away, but then I realized it was never mine to destroy. I did not touch it at first. That jersey had become a disgusting little symbol of everything he stole. My tenderness, her trust, his son's innocence. A simple gift turned into a prop. Finally, I picked it up. It felt heavier than fabric should. Claire said, "I am sorry he brought you into my life this way." I said, "I am sorry he made me part of your pain." We sat there for a while without trying to make the conversation prettier than it was. There was no sisterhood speech, no dramatic hug, no instant healing between two women wounded in different ways by the same man. But there was respect, and after months of being turned into a threat, respect felt almost holy. When I got home, I did not throw the jersey away. Not immediately. I put it in a grocery bag and left it by the door. For 3 days I stepped around it. On the 4th day, I carried it to the donation bin behind a community center near my apartment. I stood there longer than I should have, holding the bag over the metal opening. Part of me wanted to keep it as proof. Part of me wanted to burn it. But I was tired of giving Michael objects that made him feel larger than he was. So I dropped it in. The sound was small. The relief was smaller. Healing was not cinematic. It did not arrive with music. It came in ugly pieces. Blocking numbers, changing passwords, telling my mother the truth. Sitting in my car after work, because going upstairs meant being alone with memories. Avoiding the corner flag until Victor finally texted, "You are allowed to come back to places you loved before him." The first time I returned, the bar looked smaller. That surprised me. For months, that place had been the stage of my humiliation, the room where the lie first brushed against me, the place where Michael looked at another woman like she held his life in her purse. But when I walked in again, it was just a bar. Sticky floor, loud TV, crooked flags, Victor pretending not to watch me too carefully. He set a glass of water in front of me and said, "No charge." I laughed for the first time in days. Later, I heard that Michael moved out of the house. Claire kept the children in their school district. Jennifer became almost aggressively present, picking the kids up, helping Claire with appointments, making up for years of looking away. Michael tried to tell people Claire had staged the fundraiser scene to ruin him, but too many people had seen his face. Too many people had read the room. And maybe most importantly, too many women had kept receipts. That was the part he never understood. He thought silence meant control. Sometimes silence means a woman is deciding whether your lie deserves one more chance or a folder. Months passed. The World Cup ended. The flags came down. The bar returned to regular games and regular crowds. I dated no one. I tried once, then canceled before dessert, because the man said something harmless about being private, and my whole body went cold. I hated that Michael still had that power over me. I hated worse that I still missed the version of him I had loved. That is the part people do not like to hear. They want betrayal to kill love cleanly, like a light switch. It does not always work that way. Sometimes you can know someone is a liar and still miss the laugh he used before you knew it was borrowed from another life. Sometimes you can hate what he did and still remember his hand fixing your kitchen cabinet. Sometimes grief does not care that the person you lost never fully existed. I did not want Michael back, but I wanted the woman I had been before him. The one who could accept kindness without checking it for wires. The one who could enjoy a song in a bar without scanning the door. The one who believed a man planning future trips might actually be planning a future. One night, almost a year later, Claire emailed me again. Not about Michael. She sent a photo of her son at a soccer tournament, holding a small trophy with one missing front tooth and a grin too big for his face. Her daughter stood beside him making bunny ears behind his head. Claire wrote only one line. "We are okay today. Today. Not forever. Not magically healed. Not pretending the damage had disappeared. Today." I stared at that photo and cried harder than I expected. Because that was the first ending that felt honest. Not revenge. Not romance. Not some perfect justice where everybody gets back exactly what was stolen. Just a woman and her children okay for one day after a man tried to make every truth look unstable. As for Michael, I saw him once after everything. It was outside a grocery store of all places. He looked thinner, older. He was loading bags into a car I did not recognize. For a second, his eyes met mine. He did not come over. He did not apologize. He just looked away. And the strangest thing happened. My heart did not race. My hands did not shake. I did not feel the old pull, the old panic, the old need to ask why I had not been enough. I only thought of that night at the bar, when Jennifer tapped her sister's face on the phone and said, "His wife." Then I thought of Claire standing under the World Cup flags with a microphone in her hand, refusing to protect the man who had trained everyone around him to doubt their own pain. Michael once told me I did not know when to stop. He was right about one thing. I did not stop when he wanted me quiet. I stopped when the truth no longer needed me to carry it. And sometimes I still wonder about that part. If Jennifer had not walked up to our table that first night, if I had not saved that screenshot, if Claire had not chosen to read instead of rage, how many more women would have been turned into villains just because one man needed his lies to look like love? What would you do in this situation? Be honest. Or did this remind you of someone? Tell me in the comments. And if this made you think about your own relationship, I left something in the description that can help you build something stronger. Subscribe if you want more stories like this every day, and share this with someone who needs to hear this story.